A while back, I made a honestly shit video. The fact that thing got above a like. A very shitty video about Silent Hill Alchemilla, calling it the best Silent Hill game you never played. I totally did not steal that title. However, to be honest, Alchemilla is kind of known. Let's be honest. It's a great fan game, it's free, and it's pretty easy to download in my opinion. And I think that it's mostly known if you're a Silent Hill fan and you're desperate for new content. If you're a Silent Hill fan for a while, you probably know about Alchemilla. And so I want to talk about a Silent Hill fan game, I'm using quotations here, that I really don't think people know about and I really wish people knew more about. Now you're probably wondering, how do I access it? The Gary's Mod Workshop. There is a map uploaded by Sassy Ross called Silent Hill Condo, and it is, in my opinion, an underrated gem. Silent Hill Condo has a game mode designed for the map to be played on called Silent Hill Condo. Silent Hill Condo is not meant for Gary's Mod sandbox play, if that wasn't obvious. We're playing on the Silent Hill Condo game mode. Things you can interact with have these little icons show up. Your sprint speed is greatly reduced compared to what you could do in Gary's Mod. And obviously you don't have a spawn menu or weapons you can use. But basically to play it, you just enable the game mode and boot up the map. As simple as that. We see a letter from someone. Regarding your last letter, I managed to locate the key you requested. The refurnishing company was still holding it even after the incidents. They'll unlock the front door of the Sycamore apartment unit, but not the rooms themselves. I'm sure you'll find a way. You've always been a resourceful person. I'm still not sure what you hope to find. The rest of the letter is cut off, and we don't know what it says. We start out in the condo, and you can see it's very decayed and abandoned. Upon trying to exit, our character states they need to find out what happened here. This pretty much tells us that our character came here willingly to probably find out what those incidents were, as maybe they had some sort of connection to them. That, or they just really want to find out what the mystery here was. Something I like is that you can actually find the small healing items, the little like tiny bottles you can find in the Silent Hill games, as props. I just really liked that. I thought that was a nice little Easter egg. The gate in is blocked, so we gotta find the key. So we enter this little office and even find a note. A complaint. Name of tenant, Miss Doris Williams. Address, Sycamore Apartments, room 202. Email address, not available. Category complaint, domestic. Details of complaint. Regular disturbances from a room above 302. Shouting, abuse, noise throughout the night. Persons notified, superintendent. Actions taken, none. Superintendent has discouraged contacting the police. I can't take it anymore. Resolved, no. Minus the obvious Silent Hill 4 reference, it obviously appears like something happened in this apartment. Possibly the mystery involves room 302, coincidentally. It is strange, though, that apparently the superintendent has done nothing if apparently this noise can be heard throughout the whole night. As we go through, we can find graffiti, some of it saying, "Rest in peace, Alice." We don't know who that is yet, but we will eventually. As we go through, we can hear music and see what appears to be sight of, somebody living here. Also, behind these boxes, we can find a key, and some graffiti in there saying, "Beware of the hangman," along with a drawing of something upside down in a cage. The key is labeled utility and obviously goes to the utility closet. Upon going in there, We found out why the superintendent didn't call the police. He had cocaine. We find a note signed by somebody called HT to somebody called Ian. Ian, 4.4 pounds, 9:30 p.m. drop. Do something about the police visits, and for God's sake, work out something with Jacob. We don't know who Jacob is, but apparently he's causing them problems, and possibly is the reason behind the noises. And without having to fucking spoil shit, Ian's the superintendent. There's a letter ahead that explains it, but I don't feel like dragging on who's the superintendent for very long. Ian is the superintendent. HT, whenever stated, is his drug dealer. Eventually, we go on in and enter room 104. We see some spray cans hinting that somebody here might have been behind the graffiti, along with a note. Don't tell Ian. I know he's keeping things quiet, but that bastard should be hung from the rafters for what he's doing to her. If Ian doesn't act, who's gonna do something? I'll keep shut about it for now, but I know the others agree. I pocketed the spare from Ian. It's under the houseplant. If Ian won't do shit, we'll evict the asshole ourselves. Signed from somebody named Stanley. Eventually, we go to the houseplant, and ta-da, the key is there. And also, something I really like is how if you try interacting with the houseplant before reading, it just says it's a normal houseplant. Eventually, we use the spare key for 302 and go on in. We find rent receipts from Mr. Jacob Horn and Mrs. Hannah Horn. Our character comments that the place is supposed to be renovated, but is very well decayed. And then we find a letter from Ian. Jacob, this is the last warning I can give. The other occupants will not be abiding of your outbursts for much longer. Sooner or later, someone is going to call the authorities, or worse. Then it won't matter how much dirt you have on me. For God's sake, don't get us both screwed. This implies that Jacob knew about Ian's cocaine addiction, and either maybe used it as blackmail to prevent him getting in trouble, or planned on eventually telling the police. If you're going to tell the police what I've been doing, Ian, I'll tell them what you've been doing, kind of logic. So whatever Jacob's been doing, Ian hasn't been able to tell the police, because if he does, they're going to search the premises and find his cocaine. And if Jacob does get in trouble, he'll probably out Ian about his cocaine addiction. Eventually, we enter a bedroom, and apparently the main character seems to recognize the lady or the baby on the photo. And we get the key and... Upon exiting, we find a dead man sitting on the once empty sofa, now with the TV on. We even see a bloodied axe. Upon entering the bathroom, it's clear something's happening. The main character seems to recognize the lady in the tub and says this can't be. And we see another corpse further in the bathroom. We see a halo in the sun, which in most Silent Hill games is used as a save point. There's a whole religious cult bullshit story, but if I'm gonna be honest, the cult story in Silent Hill is the most boring part of Silent Hill in my personal opinion. I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but look, dude, nobody cares about the cult. We interact with it, presuming it's some kind of save station or checkpoint, and we're sent to the other world. Because this doesn't use custom textures like, say, Alchemilla, the creator had to just use base Half-Life 2 and other source game textures, and did a great job conveying a state of decay, in my opinion. Despite just being base textures, they do a great job with being able to change the apartment's feel, and it feels just disgusting and rotted now. It almost feels like everything just got changed to concrete. Certain points just drop off into pits, and you can't see what lies further down. You can see things behind windows just barely because of how blurry presumably smoke or steam in there is. We eventually find a note from a court. Regarding the Horn case, Your Honor, I'm a mental health therapist. I began seeing Jacob Horn in April of 2000 in several marriage counseling sessions, before moving on to one-to-one sessions in May. In my professional opinion, Jacob Horn suffered from an intermittent explosive disorder, characterized by bouts of extreme anger, irrational impulse, and paranoia. Mr. Horn also had a history of drug usage in the past, and worsened these issues, but had stated that he had not used any drugs since 1999. Jacob's relationship with his wife, Hannah Horn, was turbulent and troubled, though Jacob stated he believed the relationship was improving. In my opinion, the relationship was borderline abusive. Jacob also described himself as reluctant to form a bond with his daughter, Alice, apparently out of fear that she would be, quote, just like me. Respectfully, Dr. Williamson. It appears that the noises that people were complaining to Ian about was Jacob abusing his wife. Judging by the fact that we find those receipts for his, apartment in 302, it's assumed the apartment we entered was his. And presumably, the bodies were him, his wife, and an unknown third body. We still don't know Alice's current condition. Maybe she's dead, but who knows? It would explain the graffiti saying "Rest in Peace, Alice." And something strange is that when we look at the photo and look at the dead female body, our character is in disbelief. Does that mean we're Alice? And we came here to see why our family's dead? That might be the case. But I'm jumping ahead. Let's go ahead and get out of this hellhole. Or a little bit further out of it than this room. Something I would like to state is I really like this map's take on the Otherworld. In my opinion, while the Otherworld is amazing in Silent Hill personally, I feel like a lot of the time it focuses too much on just being nasty and dark. In my personal opinion, some of my favorite takes on the Otherworld was ones from like Silent Hill Downpour and Silent Hill Shattered Memories from how unique and twisted they were. While sure, the Otherworld segments in other Silent Hill games, even Silent Hill Alchemilla that I covered a while back, are good, and I like the idea of the Otherworld segments, they all feel the same. Either the places are now disgustingly rotted, covered in blood, or are rusty. They're never pretty much anything else. While sure, Silent Hill 2 and 4 were a bit more unique, they just had a much more, I guess you'd say, liminal approach, and Silent Hill 2's approach was more that the place is now disgustingly rotted. Shattered Memories and Downpour had the most unique approach, but unfortunately, nobody likes Downpour except me. I'm like one of the 3 people on this planet that actually like it, and Shattered Memories was not also well received because it lured away from the whole horror aspect, being much more psychological and strange than scary. But I really like this version's take because of this scene alone. While sure, it's plagiarism levels close to the final staircase in Silent Hill 2, it's just unique and nice to just see fog and light in the Otherworld, and not just complete pitch black darkness, which is still there, but there's at least some light to counterbalance it. Then I figure Sassy Ross just didn't want us using our flashlight for 90% of the map. Upon going up, we can find a letter, and it's to Jessica, the sister of Hannah. To Jessica, I had to go away with Tracy again today. Jacob's outbursts are getting worse, and I fear he might be on something once again. I can already hear your voice telling me to go, but I simply can't. I know you don't care for him, but I know him better than anyone. I know that deep down inside him is that kind, gentle soul I fell in love with. I love you, Jess. Tomorrow I'm gonna go finally confront him. If something should happen to me, please look after Alice. You'll always be my darling sister. Hannah. We don't know the fate of Hannah, sadly. Maybe she's the dead female body. Maybe it's Jessica, actually. Eventually, we go back in and find a much more empty version of the apartment's entrance. And even a ladder on the ceiling. It's clear you're not in the real world right now. Upon going in, we find some gurneys and a police note. Around 20-30 hours on August 13th, Stanley Gardner, occupant of Sycamore Apartment Unit 104, reported the sounds of an altercation in Unit 302. Reporting officer arrived on the scene with Officer Philip Galvin. around 2050 hours and entered the apartment unit. Upon arrival, Sergeant Fuller found the unresponsive body of Jacob Horn in the lounge room, sitting in a position on the sofa in front of the television, covered in blood with evidence of an overdose. Officer Galvin called in for paramedics and assistance from Officer Hank Truman and Kate Holmes, as Sergeant Fuller searched the premises, finding a bloodied axe, Addendum 2.3, on the kitchen counter. Inside the bathrooms, the bodies of Hannah Horn and the building's intendant, Ian Dwyer, were found. Mrs. Horn was discovered in the bathtub with an axe wound across the stomach, face down in the water and unresponsive. Mr. Dwyer was found with several axe wounds, body half stashed behind wooden cover near a dryer and washer, unresponsive. Officer Galvin discovered the infant, later identified as Alice Horn, asleep inside a crib in the bedroom. Officers Truman and Holmes arrived on the scene and assisted the cordoning off of the unit for paramedics. As Sergeant Fuller and Officer Galvin assembled the building's current occupants into the south lobby for questioning, those present inside the building were Stanley Gardner, who made the initial report, Tracy Gardner, both of room 104, Doris Williams of room 202, and Laurel Benson of room 203. Earl Dwyer, brother of Ian Dwyer, arrived at the scene responding from a call made earlier, approximately 2015 hours by Stanley Gardner. So it turns out that body in the bathtub was Hannah, and the dead guy behind there was Ian, and the dead man on the sofa was Jacob. While it's never explained what happened, it can be assumed that Jacob went into an overdose or a hallucinogenic state and killed Ian and Hannah. Maybe the drug he was taking was cocaine provided to him by Ian. Upon suffering an overdose, he got aggravated, killed Hannah, killed Ian, and then died of the overdose. Perhaps Ian came in to have a fight with Jacob, but Jacob overpowered him with an axe and killed Hannah to prevent witnesses, before then, like I said earlier, dying of an overdose. It's never stated what happened or what kind of altercation happened, but we know who's dead, and we can assume the reason why, although it's never stated. And after learning about this grave info, we head through the door, and it's clear we're not out here yet. We're still very much trapped in the other world. And as we go down, it seems quite... Silent Hill Condo has one monster and one monster only, but damn does he make quite an entrance. Not only are the sounds that they make utterly disturbing, but his design reminds me of something from Silent Hill 2 with a color palette of something out of Silent Hill 3. They're called the Hangman, being a reference to the graffiti we found earlier. And you can technically die here, but it's more or less just him catching you and teleporting you to the bad ending. But for this run, we're gonna book it and get the good ending. You see pieces of familiar corridors, pieces of the apartment hallways, bedrooms. You see pieces of the otherworld hallway. It's very clear that everything we've seen is mashing to this one hallway-like dimension. Anyway, I'll let you experience the chase scene. We awaken to some piano music, and walking out, we see a memorial for Hannah. It appears to be the same bathroom she died in, but now distorted from the other world, but in a calm way. It makes the other world seem beautiful in a way, contrasted against the horrors of it alongside it. Maybe this part of the other world isn't as bad as the rest, but we interact with the halo of the sun, and end up back in the apartment, but it seems cleaner, and looks like it went through proper renovation. We eventually find a renovation letter on a table. To Earl Dwyer, subject regarding Sycamore Apartments. I regret to inform you that P&S Refurnishing has decided to conclude business in regards to the Sycamore Apartments Commission due to ongoing strange incidents, as many of our employees have elected against working at the site. Despite being inspected multiple times, there is a discrepancy among each report of the site. Some of our employees describe the site as almost complete, while others state that the decayed condition has not changed. This, combined with the accidental injury that occurred, has led us to choosing to conclude work with room 302 and electing not to continue with the rest of the building. P&S apologizes for the inconvenience. This basically is just a reminder that in Silent Hill, what you see, other characters don't. Everyone in Silent Hill witnesses things differently, and we witnessed it in quite a strange way. We even saw bodies. I just really like that conclusion because it just reminds you, no one sees this town the same way through their eyes. Our character says they found what they wanted, and it's time for them to get the hell out. Eventually, we slowly walk out, head out the front door, and we see the rest of the letter. Regarding your last letter, I managed to locate the key you requested. The refurnishing company was still holding it even after the incidents. They'll unlock the front door of the Sycamore apartment unit, but not the rooms themselves. I'm sure you'll find a way. You've always been a resourceful person. I'm still not sure what you hope to find, but I do hope you find closure in this. Your mother was a good woman, Alice. She didn't deserve what happened to her. Please do not let the past destroy your future. The only thing we can do for us, and for Hannah, is to move on. Love from your aunt, Jessica Horn. It turns out we were Alice, and we came here to find out what happened to our mother. And we've presumably been raised by our aunt for as long as we've lived. Eventually, we see Alice walking out of Silent Hill, either walking to home or walking to a car to get home. And thus, like the ending states, she now is moving on. However, there are 2 more endings, 1 ending technically, and a bunch of secrets. Let's go ahead and talk about those secrets, shall we? The first secret is nothing special. There's a bunch of hidden teddy bears you can find around the map. The most you get's just an achievement for finding them all. It's nothing really major. Technically, the whole cocaine room is a secret, which I just covered because I thought it would explain the story more and better. So, it's technically a secret, but you normally wouldn't find it on a first playthrough if you weren't very observant. But the next secret, say you decide to jump into that pit or go back after hearing a noise from the door behind you. When you go back in, what was once a boarded up door is now open. Upon going in, we see a bunch of graffiti from somebody who is very clearly insane and are presumably trapped here in the other world. It's not known who it is, and I would say HT, but there is graffiti saying who is HT, so it must not be HT. That would be a unique idea. The guy giving them the cocaine is now stuck in this hell that he created, but I don't think it's HT. If anything, he's just living in New York giving cocaine for a cheaper price. Next up, okay, this isn't a secret, but I just want to mention it. There's an unused soundtrack called Hangman. I don't know why it was scrapped. Maybe Sassy Ross has explained it and I just haven't seen it, but it is kind of just a looping track. It sounds like it was slightly reused though, mainly that sound effect, but I think the actual chase theme's better. I presume it was probably meant to play in the hallway you see it. Next up, on the 3rd floor, you can find this soda can, and if you put it near graffiti of a soda can, the wooden barriers just fly open. You go in and find a Nostalgia Critic album. What the fuck? Yeah, I have no words to describe that. It's just that Easter egg exists. I don't know what to say. Next up, this one you kind of gotta be an idiot to get, but if you let the hangman catch you, you wake up in a disgusting, moldy version of the bathroom. by letting, symbolically, the past consume us, it killed us. We never moved on. And maybe even we're stuck here for eternity. The achievement for getting this ending is called Eternal Stay. And presumably, I'm pulling theories out my ass here right now. The hangman might represent Jacob, our father, because the achievement says, just like your father. Perhaps hinting that either, one, he is stuck here, and maybe he's even behind the graffiti, or two, he is the hangman. Although the hangman could just be an allegory of suffering, I guess. Think of it like, kind of like Pyramid Head, but instead of for one person, for multiple people. AKA what the White Hunter was meant to be. But people just kept using Pyramid Head. And finally, it wouldn't be a Silent Hill game without a UFO ending. Or an Easter egg ending. Throughout the game, you can find these blue gems that, quote, call out for their brothers. Upon discovering them all, a door in the refurnished apartment opens up. We go down and discover what is, I guess, a military installation hidden underneath Sycamore apartment. We find a UFO, and after entering it, we're told through a newspaper that it destroyed the entirety of Silent Hill. Presumably now a war has started between aliens and people, and then we see a picture of Alice with some aliens, and presumably it's a photo to her aunt saying, wishing you were here. It's a joke ending, it's obviously not canon, it's just, I find it funny.
The truth is out there, so are lies. He was first visited by aliens when he was 18 years old.
But anyway, I wanted to make this video to talk about Silent Hill Condo because it is, in my opinion, while short, a hidden gem. What it does with Silent Hill, in my opinion, is really unique, and I wish more Silent Hill games and fans that want to make fan projects did this. Instead of using the other world as just a reskin of the prior one with new puzzles and doors to unlock, or making it just be rusty or nasty or moldy, it is instead almost like a separate realm. And at times, the other world honestly seems kind of beautiful. Not only that, but the story is really unique, and while basic, I think it's great. I mean, I like Petscop's story, and when you really dig to the bottom of it, it's a pretty simple story, but the way it's told is great. Same with Silent Hill Condo, the way it's told and the way everything's revealed and how not everything is explained is really good. Sure, we know Jacob, Hannah, and Ian are dead, but we don't know how or why or who killed them. Did Jacob die of an overdose and Ian just suddenly bust in and kill Hannah? Did Jacob go mad from the cocaine and kill Ian and Hannah? No one knows. Who's writing the graffiti? No one knows. Now, obviously, if you're a fucking Silent Hill lore nerd, you could just say that, oh, well, everything's weird because, you know, Alessa died and now she possessed the town and reflects people's... Shut the fuck up. I hate, and this is gonna sound very random, I'm sorry for this random rant. So many Silent Hill games involve the cult, and it's just stupid in my opinion. The cult is not interesting. I'm sorry, it's just not. What makes Silent Hill scary is the fact that people who go there have to basically go through their own personal hell. I think, in all honesty, it would have been horrifying if it was never even stated why the town is the way it is. If we just knew the town was abandoned at some point because of something, and for some reason this fog seems to cause people's personal hells to show up, I'd be fine by that. We don't need everything to be explained. Something else I like is, while not fully, it kind of avoids that whole theme of everyone seeing their own things. It mixes it up a bit by implying this hangman is seen by everyone. Because, fun fact, when you use the same formula for long enough, you really need to fucking change it. Okay, look, I'm sorry. This video is becoming a bit of a rant on the Silent Hill fanbase. I apologize, but look, I gotta get this rant out of the way. I am so sick and tired of people acting like Silent Hill 2 is the only way to make a Silent Hill game. It's not. You can make a Silent Hill game in multiple ways and have it tackle multiple stories, and the way the town works can be different. What makes Silent Hill scary is the idea that everything around you is you or someone else's personal hell. And so the fact that every motherfucker acts like Silent Hill 2 is the only Silent Hill game that did this good, I'm sorry, may I remind you of the rest? Silent Hill 3 is the only Silent Hill game I thought actually had an interesting point on the cult, because you see Heather's world around her be transformed. It shows that the town's powers can affect places outside of it. It was unique, it was scary. Silent Hill 4 is mainly about Walter Sullivan's otherworld, and it shows his psychopathic tendencies and places he's been and people he knows. The ghosts add a nice mix-up to the game, and it changes it from the whole kill this enemy and maybe they'll wake up later if you're on a harder difficulty. It also had a, while kinda shitty, much more in-depth melee system. Silent Hill doesn't just have to be about your own character's personal hell. Silent Hill Condo can show this. If anything, it could be kind of looked at almost like you're entering Ian or Jacob's personal hell. Maybe they're the ones behind the graffiti? Maybe it's Hannah's own personal hell. Maybe it's Alice's own personal hell too? But then how do multiple people see the hangman? Unless, like I mentioned earlier, it tries to break away from the whole format of monsters are for only one person's viewing, and it's just a monster everyone can see. It has multiple meanings, similar to, say, the Boogeyman from Silent Hill Downpour, who shows up for multiple people because he exists for different reasons for multiple people. What I'm saying is, Silent Hill Condo shows what Silent Hill can be used for. Great, interesting, and mysterious horror stories. Silent Hill doesn't have to restrict itself to rules like that Silent Hill 1 set up, or what people think Silent Hill 2 is, and that they need to follow these rules religiously. The way the town works can be mixed up for the convenience of making a good story. Silent Hill doesn't have set ground rules. The whole point of Silent Hill is that it's someone's personal hell and the town changes itself to fuck with them. And when it really needs to fuck with them, it enters itself into the other world, where there is no limit to what can go on. Silent Hill is a vessel for great stories. And I feel like people act like Silent Hill isn't, if that makes sense. People act like Silent Hill is this sacred thing that you have to use this, you have to do that, you have to do this. When in my opinion, there's only really a few things I feel like a lot of Silent Hill games should try to avoid. I feel like they should avoid using reskins or literally just monsters from prior games. Unless it's something like Vatiel or White Hunter, it don't really make sense. And if they do exist for another character, have them look very different. I mean, Silent Hill 3 nurses look different, and they weren't sexualized because Heather isn't into women. At least, I don't know. I don't fucking know what the hell her sexuality is, dog. I don't know, man. I'm not gonna start a rabbit hole saying that. And I feel like Silent Hill games shouldn't try to use the cult as its main part of the story. Because I feel like the cult has been explored enough through Silent Hill 3. Silent Hill Homecoming is pretty much the worst Silent Hill game, and it tried tackling the cult. And it just showed it in a very strange way that didn't really make sense. Anyway, enough with dumbass rant. Back on the main subject of Silent Hill Condo. Silent Hill Condo is great. It's short and sweet. And it's accessible to anyone that owns Gary's Mod, which is probably like half of Steam. And Sassy Ross, if you're watching this, just know you made a wonderful Silent Hill fan game. And while sure fan game is a heavy term, it feels like its own thing. And Silent Hill Condo is, in my opinion, the Silent Hill game that no one knows exists.